Welcome back, everyone. An age-old question started in the comments, continued for a little while. Is your PFD safe to use? How much flotation is it supposed to offer? How much flotation does it actually offer? It just so happens I have the perfect gear for doing this test, but first let's talk about it. If you go to the manufacturer's websites of Your PFD, and I did this years ago for another video to figure out the answer to when is it time to retire your PFD, most of the websites will say when the nylon begins to fade, it's time to retire your PFD. With the thought process being that if the nylon is fading, then the flotation inside the PFD is degrading, and so it's time to replace it. This is what I've said in other videos, this is what I've said in trainings with people, but someone brought up in a comment a little while ago the question of, is your PFD actually providing the amount of flotation it's supposed to? But really the question and the test of a PFD is over time. It may float initially perfectly well, but over the course of, say, an hour while you're waiting for rescue, that flotation, if it's failing, might soak through and no longer be offering the flotation that it needs. So this is like, what my initial response was, this is like way too intense of a test and that no one's going to do it. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, well, I could do it. I could certainly do it. So I happen to have two perfect candidates to do this test. This is an Astral Seawolf. This is the Class 3 non-rescue version of this, the Astral Green Jacket. This, on Astral's website, is listed at 16.5 pounds of flotation. This is listed on the Astral website, even though it's no longer made, as 16.4 pounds of flotation. I went out and bought myself a really big bucket. This is a 15-pound kettlebell. We're going to attach this to these and see how they do. Yeah, I would have liked one that was 16.4 pounds or 16.5 pounds, but I don't have one. I have a 15. I don't have any 1 pound weights. We're going to see how this does. Okay, I'm going to fill a bucket. Okay, while that's filling up with water, I gotta get all of the stuff out of this so that the weights are closer. Okay, let's go see how we're doing. So in theory, this should have no problem floating this because this is 15 pounds and this is 16.4 pounds. Clearly it floats it without a problem. Let's see how it does in an hour. Okay, I would have been very surprised and upset if this had not done well for that hour. It's about a year old. Let's put this in the sun to dry out and get PFD number 2. Okay, tests are done. The verdict is in. I didn't see any real difference in either PFD, a 10-year-old or a fairly new one, over the course of an hour. I am not sure if the whole over time it fails to support your weight while you're in the water. I don't know if that, no pun intended, holds any water. But what I did see that was super interesting was an immediate difference in that the two PFDs, which only have a 1/10 of a pound difference flotation, one is 16.4, one is 16.5. The older PFD sat way lower in the water for the whole event. That to me is the most telling, is that a 10-year-old PFD just is not offering as much flotation as it should. I don't think that the pound of difference in the weight that I had attached to it, it was a 15-pound weight, not a 16.4-pound weight. I don't think that that made a difference, but it was super interesting that the older PFD just did not sit up out of the water. That is a good indicator that you should, over time, replace your PFD when that time is. I'm gonna stick with the, if it starts to be discolored, if the nylon starts to be discolored, it's a good time to do that. I've also read 7 years is a good time. I have no idea what that's based on. Take all of this with a big grain of salt, replace your PFD if it gets old. And yeah, I think that's it. This was fun. I don't think it really told us a whole lot other than when your PFD gets old, it's time to replace it. 5 years is probably a good idea. Okay. You can support this channel on Ko-fi. That's where my gear lists are, and float plans and food planning sheet and all that stuff is there, as well as my books. Books are available in hard copy on Amazon. I'll see you outside.